Patty Joe here. How are you this pandemic? I hope you're doing fine and safe. So it's been a while since I have covered any COVID-19 news. So I've been researching about potential vaccines around the world. As you know, it's been a race among researchers to find a potential vaccine against COVID-19. As of now, there is 170 potential vaccines that has been tracked by the WHO or the World Health Organization. This is somehow related to my previous video, how vaccines are developed. It's about, well, it's kind of self-explanatory already. But in this particular video, we will be talking about the candidates for the COVID-19 vaccine. But before we'll start, we will have our word bank. If you are a newbie, I always present a word bank first. These are keywords that relates to our topic for you to be aware and fully understand. First word will be vaccine. A vaccine is a substance that helps protect against certain diseases. Vaccines contain a dead or weakened version of a microbe. It helps your immune system to recognize and destroy the living microbe during an infection. Word number 2 will be clinical trials. Are type of researches that studies new tests and treatments and evaluates their effects on human health outcomes. Next word is equitably, characterized by equity or fairness, just and right, reasonable. Last but not the least is facility, something designed, built, installed, etc. to serve a specific function according a service or convenience. Just a recap, vaccines mimics the virus features. It simulates the immune system to develop antibodies. Developing these vaccines must follow higher standards of safety than other drugs because they are given to millions of healthy people. Now, there are stages on how vaccines are being tested. The preclinical stage, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. The average timeline on developing vaccines actually takes decades, and our researchers needs a lot of funding on these trials.
And majority of them aren't successful.
Isn't trial and error thing, but it's not really applicable for our situation right now. Our researchers aim to manufacture up to 2 billion doses by the end of 2021. This is unprecedented. Now the goal is to make the pandemic under control via equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines and needs urgent broad-scale commitments and investment from countries. First, I will introduce the Access to COVID-19 Tools or ACT-Accelerator. Launched at the end of 2020 of April, it brings together governments, scientists, businesses, civil society, and philanthropists, and global health organizations. Basically, these organizations have joined forces to a groundbreaking global collaboration to accelerate development, production, and equitable access to COVID-19 tests, treatments, and vaccines. This ACT-Accelerator is organized into 4 pillars of work: the diagnostics, the treatment, the vaccine, and health system strengthening. Each pillar is vital to the overall effort and involves innovation and collaboration. Basically, with ACT-Accelerator, it cross-cuts all works and fundings and develop the principles, frameworks, and mechanisms needed to ensure fair and equitable allocations of these tools. ACT-Accelerator guarantees that every nation from self-financing countries to low and middle income countries will have access for these tools. So we will be diving into the focuses of each pillars of the ACT-Accelerator. The first pillar will be diagnostics, led by the Global Fund and Foundation for Innovative New Diagnostics. They are more focused on bringing to market 2 to 3 high-quality rapid tests, training 10,000 healthcare professionals across 50 countries, and establishing testing 500 million people in low and middle income countries by mid-2021. The second pillar is therapeutics or treatment, led by the Welcome and Unit Aid. This pillar can actually play a large role in all stages of COVID-19, such as to prevent infection, treat or prevent symptoms, etc. The aim for the next 12 months is to develop, manufacture, and distribute 245 million treatments, helping COVID-19 sufferers to recover from the disease. Sounds really a good plan. Third pillar will be the vaccines, led by the Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, or CEPI, Gavi, and WHO. The third pillar is speeding up the search for an effective vaccine for all countries. And at the same time, it is supporting in building of manufacturing capabilities and buying supply ahead of time so that 2 billion doses can be fairly distributed by the end of 2021. The fourth pillar will be health systems, led by the World Bank, Global Fund, and Global Financing Facility, works to ensure that these tools can reach people who really need them. According to the latest updates about COVID-19 vaccines, there are already 172 economies are now engaged in discussion to potentially participate in COVAX facility. It is the third pillar of the ACT, by the way. COVAX, or COVID-19 Vaccine Global Access Facility, is a global initiative aimed at working with vaccine manufacturers to provide countries worldwide equitable access to safe and effective vaccines once they are licensed and approved. And in order to be able to secure enough vaccines to protect the most vulnerable populations, such as the health workers and the elderly, it says here that the next step for the partnership is to confirm potential self-financing participants intend to participate by 31 August and to turn this into binding commitments to join the COVID-19 Vaccine Global Access Facility, or COVAX facility, by 18 September, with these upfront payments to follow thereafter and no later than 9 October 2020. So knowing all the number of issues in developing COVID-19 vaccines, apparently what the COVAX facility will be doing is to all participating economies develop vaccines and at the same time to manufacture them. And yes, with all the risks and issues involved. This is according to their official website. Quote, "As speed is critical in this pandemic, we can't wait until testing is finished to make vaccines, because if we do, there will be enormous delays before large quantities are available. The solution is to be ready to produce vaccines at a scale before we know if they work. If they don't, we will have wasted some effort and money. If they do, we will be able to have vaccines to use immediately. Demand for a successful vaccine will be high and supply will be limited. So we will be also need to ensure that access to any successful vaccine is equitable and non-dependent upon ability to pay." To put it simple, traditionally, there will be no manufacturing of vaccines and they are truly effective. But with the COVAX pillar, push and pull mechanisms that will encourage manufacturers to invest in scaling up and help the risk associated with doing so. So the push financing will come in a direct form of catalytic investment in production facilities, while the pull will provide manufacturers additional incentive to scale up. through commitments to purchase substantial volumes of vaccines if their vaccine is successful. By taking this approach, pooling resources and sharing the risk, we increase our chances in succeeding and to stand and share the rewards too if we do so. So, it's an all or nothing plan. Now, we have this burning question in our minds. Who will get the vaccines? Obviously, every country in the world right now would want as many doses as much as possible. But there won't be enough doses for everyone initially. So through the COVAX facility, doses will be distributed equitably as they become available between the self-financing countries that will pay for their doses and developing countries that would otherwise to be unable to afford to pay for the vaccine. And they also indicate here that a small portion of the total will also be kept in reserve to help tackle sporadic outbreaks and for humanitarian response. I found another article about this and it stated, quote, 80 higher income economies which would finance the vaccines from their own public finance budgets have so far submitted expressions of interest ahead of the deadline of 31 of August for confirmation of intent to participate. They will partner with 92 low and middle income countries that will be supported by the AMC if it meets its funding targets. Together, these groups of 172 countries will represent more than 70% of the world's population. Among the groups are representatives from every continent and more than a half of the world's G20 economies. The goal of COVAX is by the end of 2021 to deliver 2 billion doses of safe and effective vaccines that have passed regulatory approval and or WHO pre-qualification. These vaccines will be offered equally to all participating countries, proportional to their populations, initially prioritizing all health workers, then expanding to cover vulnerable groups, such as the elderly and those with pre-existing conditions. Further doses will then be made available based on the country need, vulnerability, and COVID-19 threat. The good news is there are already multiple candidate vaccines that are currently being evaluated for inclusion for the COVAX facility. But I will only mention candidates that are on phase 2 and above. So from the University of Oxford, they are currently in phase 3. By BioNTech, they are already in phase 3. Wuhan Institute of Biological Products currently in phase 3. Moderna currently in phase 2. CanSino Biologics Inc. currently in phase 3. University of Melbourne currently in phase 3. So the important thing that I really want to stress out to all my dear subscribers or just a random human being that stumbled upon this video, that every candidate was approved by the WHO. The reason why I want to stress this is because the world is on the race in creating a vaccine, and I am worried that vaccine developers will rush too hastily, testing vaccines or any medication without taking the time to fully understand safety risks could bring unwarranted setbacks during this current pandemic. We do not want that. A rush into potentially risky vaccines and therapies will betray trust and discourage work to develop better assessments. But that's just my rant. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot as I try to be informative as possible. I think I forgot to mention this earlier. I don't remember, but again, I am Patty Jo. I'm fairly new and I want to share a lot of things that I stumbled upon the internet or just things that I know in general or something. I do travel vlogs too, but not really as in travel. More like it's traveling with a purpose such as an errand, and I vlog it because
Why not?
If you're interested about what I want to share, please consider subscribing and hit that small notification bell for more updates. You can also reach me through my Twitter or Instagram.
Let's be friends.
And subsequently be part of hopefully a tightly knit family here on YouTube.
I have big dreams.
I hope you all stay safe and healthy. See you again in my next video. Bye bye!